everybody, it's Karen with Food and Family. I know I've said it before, but Christmas is next weekend. I've got a week to get everything ready that I want to make ahead of time. And one of those foods is my chicken and dressing. I like to make it ahead of time. It lets everything just marry together. I think it makes it that much better. And it makes it easier on me. Because what I'll do is I'll put it together today, then I'll put it in the freezer. And then next weekend, I'll take it out of the freezer the night before Christmas, put it in my refrigerator, get up the next morning, and all I have to do is make sure it's defrosted, pop it in the oven, let it bake, and it's done. There's not a lot of work to do. I want to make it easy on myself and everybody Christmas Day and not spend the whole day in the kitchen cooking. So anything you can get done ahead of time, it's worth your little extra time. But first, we've got to make our cornbread. I've got my chicken on the stove boiling. So I've got a whole fryer. I couldn't find a hen, and I've got it in my big pot, covered it with water really good. I put a carrot, onion, and celery in it, salted it. I want it seasoned, salted it real good, and let it come to a boil. I've got my homemade broth. I'll just strain out the carrot, celery, and onion, and all it leaves you with the broth. Pick the chicken off. You're ready to make your dressing. But first, we've got to make our cornbread. I'm going to start with I'm making a lot of cornbread. So I'm going to start with 3 cups of cornmeal. So there's 3 cups of cornmeal. Now I know this is a mix and it's got flour and salt and everything in it, but I am going to always have added a little extra flour. Not much, because I don't want it cakey, I don't want it floury. And then again, I know it has salt, but I'm going to add some more salt. I'm seasoning for my dressing. So, and normally once I make this, I don't add any more salt to my dressing, but we'll see how it tastes. So let's stir that in together. I've got my oven set on 435. I used to bake my cornbread higher than that, and my daughter-in-law's grandmother swore that 435 was the perfect temperature to bake cornbread at. I tried it, and she is absolutely correct. It makes the best cornbread. I can put it in the oven at 435 and bake it about 20 minutes, and my cornbread is done. Now I'm going to add a couple of eggs to this mixture. I know some people put it in their dressing. I just put it in my cornbread. That's what my granny taught me to do. And so that's what I do. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, beat up those eggs, and we're going to put in our buttermilk. Now, I've got whole buttermilk. If you can find it, use whole buttermilk. If not, the low fat is great. I use it as well. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. I got 2 cups out here. So I've got to just pour some and check it and see. So I'll let you know how much I'm using. I'm starting with a cup. So we're going to get that mixed up really well. I may have to swap over to a spoon. I'm gonna, nope, so the cup is not enough. So let's add some more. We're gonna add about another 1/2 cup, and we'll see how that does. That's looking better. You don't want it real thick, but you don't want it runny and watery either. Well, we're gonna add more. Let's add another 1/4 cup. So we're up to 1 3/4 cups. And that's with whole buttermilk. The low-fat buttermilk may not take so much because it's thinner. It's not as thick. So let's clean off this whisk, and I'm going to swap over to something else to stir with. Let's see. Let's use this big spatula. We're going to need it to clean out the bowl anyway, aren't we? See, I've still got a lot of dry cornmeal in there. See, that's after 1 3/4 cups. So we're going to add the last 1/4 cup of buttermilk. And if that doesn't do it, we'll add more. Sometimes it's just an eyeball thing. It's looking better. I've got my skillets preheating, and I'll take those out of the oven in just a minute, and I'm going to add some solid shortening, Crisco shortening to it, and some butter. I learned that trick from my grandmother. But you know, that's coming along. Instead of adding more buttermilk, I'm going to add, see what all that extra in that cup, I'm going to add some water to it. And use that. You're not going to know it's water. It kind of cleans out your cup too. So let's get that. Oh yeah. Now if you wanted, you could just take this, add you some seasoning to it, whatever you wanted. You could add, if you were making just cornbread, I'm not making dressing, you can add some cheese to it and bake it in the oven. You can do whatever you want with it. You could even add your sage and poultry seasoning at this point if you wanted to, and just make dressing cornbread if you wanted to. So yeah, now it's getting loose enough. So that was 2 cups of buttermilk, whole buttermilk, and right about 1/2 cup, not quite, just a smidge over a 1/4 cup of water. Now, can you see the consistency of this? And that's what you want. So let's get our skillets out of the oven. They're hot, so be careful. I've got hot pans. I've got a 10-inch skillet. It's smoking hot. And I've got a 6-inch skillet. I'm making a lot of dressing. So they're extremely hot. I want to leave my hot pad on the handle so that way I don't accidentally touch it and get burned. So I'm going to put some shortening in. Remember, we're going to come back and add some butter. And the skillet is so hot, I don't know if you can see it, it's so hot that shortening is melting already. So we're going to give it a little butter. Butter just, I say it all the time, butter makes it better. So, listen, can you hear that sizzling? See how it's so hot, it's melting already? Both of them. So we're going to divide this dough cornbread mix between these 2 skillets. I don't like a thick cornbread when I'm just eating cornbread. I make it on the thinner side, but we're making dressing, so we're going to make it a little bit thicker. Listen, you might can hear it sizzle. Sometimes it does when you take it right out of the oven and melt that shortening. When you add your cornbread batter, it starts sizzling. You can see it. I'm going to hold that skillet up and let you see around the edges how it's all ready. Let's get rid of this. See how it's bubbling around the edges? That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. So I'm going to get this in the oven. I said it's hot, so let me go ahead and open the oven door. We're going to carry one at a time since it's hot and full of cornbread mix. Oh, it's going to be so good, y'all. Now, I'm going to get that cooking, and you know what? I think I forgot to put my salt in it. You should have reminded me. But that's okay, because if I didn't salt it, I can salt the cornbread as I make the dressing. So it's not going to hurt anything. So let me get this going. Get it in the oven. I'm going to set my timer for, I'm going to say 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and then I'll check it. And when I'm making just cornbread, I like it to be brown and crunchy. With dressing, you don't want it that brown, so a light golden color. So let me get that going, and I'll see you in a little bit, okay? All right, our cornbread is done. I'm going to take it out of the oven, and if you could just smell it. If you like cornbread, you are going to like this. See, you don't want it too golden. Now, I've got a cooling rack here that I'm going to put it out on to let it cool, so I can handle it to break it up to make my dressing. So we're going to let this cool for a few minutes, and when it gets cool enough for me to handle, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how I put this dressing together. And it is going to be delicious, and you're not going to want to miss it. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, we're back. I have gotten the cornbread cooled, and I started crumbling it up, and I got my chicken out of the pot. I went ahead and let it cool. Now I'm almost done picking the chicken off of the bone. I want to go ahead and get at least most of it done, because it's really not fun watching somebody pick chicken off the bone. But it is so tasty. Now what I want to do, and I didn't get out a container, so I'm going to have to stop and get one, is set aside a little bit of this chicken for my gravy. And I'm going to make well, I say giblet gravy, but I don't use the giblets. I use the, just a little bit of the chicken. So let me grab a little bitty container here that I can put some in. And what I'll do is, when I get done putting this together, I'm going to put it in the freezer, and I'll just put this right alongside it, so when it comes time to make my gravy, I've got my chicken. So it's easy as that. Let's get rid of these chicken bones. I put them in a bag, so I can go ahead and throw them out. So close it up. There's my chicken. So here's my cornbread. And I started crumbling it, and I'm going to finish crumbling it up. My hands are clean, I promise. I washed them before we came on. You don't get to see that part. So we'll crumble it up, and then we're going to start adding all of our goodies. And I didn't get a spoon to stir it up with, but you know what? It's real cooking, so you move around sometimes, you don't always have everything right in front of you. So I try to be prepared, but sometimes we forget stuff. Let's see. Oh, this smells so good. Just the cornbread, y'all. I love cornbread. I love cornbread milk. Now, I don't like it with buttermilk. I cook with buttermilk, but I like to use regular milk and pour it over some cornbread. It makes for a good snack. Okay. Now, let me get a spoon to, whoop, here it is. I did set one out, I just didn't pick it up. Okay, so see how I've got it crumbled up? There's some larger pieces, but when it gets wet and we start stirring it up, they'll break down. So, let's set that aside with the chicken. We'll just set it up here out of the way. Now we're going to chop up an onion, and I don't cook my onion ahead of time. I don't pre-cook my onion and my celery. It cooks in with the dressing when I put it in the oven, so I don't see a reason to do it, so I don't. If you want to, you go right ahead. A lot of people do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just something I choose not to do. I want to make it as easy as possible. And it's going to cook in the oven with the dressing. Be careful when you're chopping. Let's see. You don't want too big a dice of onion, but you don't want it too small either because you'll lose it in the dressing. Now, I'm using a yellow onion today. When I was at the grocery store, the white onions did not look good, so I didn't get them. My eyes are burning. So you can see about the size that I've got them. So we'll put them in. That was kind of a little more than a medium-sized onion. Let's see if we're going to need it all. I want to be able to taste other stuff beside the onion. No, we're going to need it all, so let's put the rest of it in there. So, okay, this is just a little over a medium. You can use a medium, you can use a small, you can use larger. It depends on how much onion you want to put in your dressing. Now, I think that's good. So, we'll get that put in. Yeah, excuse me for just a moment and I'll be right back. My eyes are burning. So give me just a minute, okay? Okay, I apologize for that. You could tell it was a really fresh onion because it was burning my eyes. Normally, it don't do that. But, it's if you breathe through your mouth instead of your nose when you're cutting the onion, it shouldn't burn your eyes. If you have a really sharp knife, it's not supposed to burn, but my knife is really sharp. But it's just a really fresh onion. Okay, so that's the onion stirred in. So now let's do some celery. Now, we like celery in our dressing. My family doesn't like a lot of celery, so I use 2 stalks. And, you know, they're pretty good sized stalks. I cut the ends off of them and trimmed them up, and then I'm going to cut each one into 3 pieces. So I'll cut those in a little smaller dice than I did the onion. So we'll get that put in. We like the celery, we just don't like it overpowering. So that's how they like it, so that's how I make it for them. That's what we do in it for our families. We cook and feed them what they like. Cook that one again, it's a little fat. So we'll get him going. Be careful with your fingers. So, like I said, my knife is really sharp, so I don't want to get cut. get this last piece of celery chopped up. It's a rainy day here today. We had some storms come through early this morning, just regular thunderstorms, nothing dangerous. And town my son works for was supposed to have a parade today, and it got canceled because of the weather, and I was looking forward to it. Maybe next year we can go. And, we've done that before, and actually we got to be a part of the parade. It was so much fun. My son played the Grinch, and he did a wonderful job. This year was supposed to be the Polar Express, and I was looking forward to seeing that because I like the Polar Express. But things happen. Can't be helped. So let's get this celery put in. Oh, this is smelling so good. Okay, so see what it looks like so far. See how much celery I've got. That's just 2 stalks. And that's plenty for us. If you want more, by all means, put what you want in it. Make it for your family how you like it. And because when I made the cornbread, I forgot to put the salt in it, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt in it. I'm going to put a little, I think I'll put a little pepper. It's not as much as you think. That's probably a teaspoon of salt, but I think it'll be enough. You can add to it, but you cannot take it away, right? So stir that around, stir it real good so you don't have it all in one place. Now we're going to get the, and don't forget, pull it up from the bottom. Got to get that seasoned too. So I use poultry and sage. Now I know poultry seasoning has sage in it, but I like to add sage, and I don't like a lot. My daddy loves sage. My mother would, when she made dressing, she would put so much sage in it, it was green, and he loved it. That's how he, that's how he liked it. She also would add sliced white bread or crackers to her dressing. I don't. I use strictly cornbread dressing. I just like the taste of it better. So if you want to add something like that, you can. So this is poultry seasoning, and I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons of poultry. Now, you can get, sage can be overpowering, I think. So I'm going to maybe a heaping teaspoon of sage. I use rubbed sage. Just maybe just a smidge more. And I don't want it overpowering with sage. Again, that's one of those things my family likes, but in small amounts. They don't like it a lot. And it don't turn it green. Mix it, mix it, mix it. Stir it well. We're going to give this a little taste after we get our chicken broth in, and see if we think it needs something else. I don't have raw eggs, so I can put it, so I'll taste it. I'm not afraid of them anyway. So, all right, let's go. I've got, in my pot here, I've probably got, I don't know, it's hard for me to judge, 6 to 8 cups of chicken broth. This is fresh chicken broth. I told you earlier. I put my chicken in my pot. I covered it with water really good. I added a carrot, celery, and onion. I salted the water and let it boil, just a simmer till the chicken got done. And when I took it out of the pot, it was falling apart done. So I let it cool, pulled the chicken out, strained off the vegetables, let it cool down a little bit while the chicken was cooling. So now we're gonna put it in over our cornbread. So we're gonna start with that much. So we'll see, you want it wet. You don't want it floating, soupy, but you want it wet. That wasn't enough. So we're gonna add some more, but we're gonna stir this up pretty good first. I don't think it needs a whole lot more. There we go. Now that's looking better. I'm gonna hold it up for you can see. So you can see it and see how wet I've got it. I'm gonna try something a little different this year, and I hope they don't rebel on me. They don't like it when I change up recipes. My family, that is. A little bit more. But I'm going to add a can of cream of chicken soup. Or should I? If I change it up and they don't like it, they'll never forgive me. I didn't cook for Thanksgiving, we went away. So they didn't have Mama's dressing then. So, you know, I think I won't. I'll try that another time when I'm just wanting to play around. I'm sure it'll be good. It's wet, but I want it a little wetter. Little wetter. I think that is gonna be perfect. Yes. Yes, that's gonna be perfect. That'll do it. See? If I can hold that up here where you can see it. See how wet I've got that? Now I'm going to pour it into my baking dish. Whoops, I got to put the chicken in. Oh, almost forgot. It won't be chicken and dressing if I don't put the chicken in, will it? So let's put it, I don't shred it finely. Nice chunks. Make sure there's no bones, and see, I found a bone. I take my hands, and as I'm putting it in, I kind of squish it around in my fingers. So feel of it really good. So I don't want to feed anybody bones. And see, there's another one. That's a little bitty one. That one is hard to find. That's why you do this. Check it out. I'm ready to eat this now. I'm ready for Christmas dinner. I don't know why I don't make dressing more than I do. It's like it's a holiday thing, and I reserve it for that time of year. I guess that's what makes it special. So, all right, now let's get this chicken stirred up in there. After I stir it up, I might want to add a little more broth because that cornbread is soaking it up. And I am going to add some more broth. I would say what I have left over, put in a jar, like a mason jar, and put it in the refrigerator. It'll keep, or you can put it in your freezer. And that's what I'll use to make my gravy with. Now, what I've got left won't be enough to make the amount of gravy I've got to make. But, because my family loves the gravy. And I'll add a little box stock to it, which is fine. It's all good. Oh, that's just perfect. Let me rinse my hands real quick and tell you, I have got a baking dish. This is a number 13. I've sprayed it with non-stick spray. So I don't see the point of making it if I can't get it out. But first, before I pour it in there, I want to take a little taste. I know it's not cooked, but I do this all the time. Take a little taste, make sure I'm not missing something. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect seasoning. Just enough salt. And if anybody wants to add some, they can. So, let's dump this into our baking dish. I hope it holds it all. That was a 10-inch and a 6-inch skillet. Iron skillet. I don't think you can do any better than cooking cornbread in a cast iron skillet. That just makes the best. And looky here, we've got a pan full of dressing. It didn't take long. The longest part was waiting on the chicken to cook and the cornbread to cook. Now see that? Pat it down real good. And also, saving a little broth, when you take it out of the freezer and you're ready to put it in the oven, if you think it's not wet enough or it needs a little more moisture, you can use that to sprinkle over it and then bake it. So I'm going to put this in the freezer. I'm not going to bake it today because it's for Christmas dinner. But when I take it out, I'm going to bake it at 350 and it'll bake about an hour or so. And I'll just watch it till it gets really golden brown and kind of crispy around the edges. And then it'll be ready. So let me show you what the pan looks like. And it is full. See that? Oh, it looks so good. I'm glad you joined me today. And I hope you enjoyed this video and try it. Leave me a comment. Please like and subscribe to my page and share it, please. And I'd certainly appreciate it. So come back and join me again. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later. Bye.